the kite that touched the sky. In the old city of Herat, nestled between blue-tiled mosques and narrow alleys scented with fresh bread and cardamom tea, a boy named Zalmai lived with his grandfather. The house was small, made of mud brick walls and a courtyard with a single pomegranate tree, but to Zalmai, it was a kingdom. Zalmai was 12 years old and had two great loves, kites and stories. His grandfather, Baba Jan, was the best storyteller in the neighborhood. Every evening, the children of the street would gather in their courtyard, cross-legged on carpets, as Baba Jan would speak of heroes, lost cities, magical caravans, and clever foxes. But there was one story Baba Jan never told, the story of Zalmai's parents. Zalmai had asked before, but Baba Jan would only look at the sky and say, "Some stories are too heavy for young hearts." Zalmai didn't press. He was content to fly his kites high above the city's rooftops, imagining them as dragons or birds or sails of ships exploring the sky. His favorite kite was a deep crimson triangle with a long golden tail. He had made it with Baba Jan during last year's spring festival, using bamboo and paper they bought in the market. Each Friday, the children of the neighborhood would race to the hill outside the city, where the wind was strong and steady. There, they would battle with their kites, cutting each other's lines with sharp-coated strings, shouting, laughing, chasing fallen kites across the dry fields. Zalmai's crimson kite was undefeated for months, earning him the nickname Asdar, the dragon. But everything changed the day a new boy arrived. He was tall, quiet, and serious, with a kite that shimmered like silver in the sun. No one knew where he had come from. Some said he was from Kabul. Others whispered he was a refugee from the north. He rarely spoke and never smiled, but his kite flew with terrifying grace. It danced, dipped, and struck like a hawk. When Zalmai and the boy finally faced off, it was the most watched kite battle in months. "Are you ready?" Zalmai asked, tying his string. The boy nodded once. His kite rose into the sky like a blade. They circled each other. Dove. Climbed. Twisted. For 15 minutes, it was war in the air, paper against paper, string against string. The crowd gasped and cheered. Finally, with a swift dive and a flick of the wrist, the silver kite sliced through Zalmai's line. The crimson kite spun out of control, tail fluttering, and disappeared behind the hills. Zalmai stood still, stunned. The crowd was silent. He felt like a part of him had been cut loose and drifted away. Later that evening, Baba Jan found him on the roof, staring at the stars. "It was just a kite," his grandfather said gently. "I know," Zalmai said, but tears slipped down his cheeks. It felt like more. Baba Jan sat beside him, sighing deeply. Sometimes losing something shows you what it really meant. Then, after a long pause, he said, "Maybe it's time I told you a story." Zalmai wiped his eyes. "Your mother and father were dreamers," Baba Jan began. "Your mother loved books. Your father loved building things, kites, radios, anything with wires. They were full of life and hope. But during the years of war, things were uncertain. Zhao Mai listened, heart pounding. One day, your parents joined a convoy of teachers going to a village in the mountains to open a school. They never came back. We searched, waited, prayed. But no news came. Only silence. Zhao Mai blinked. Why didn't you tell me before? Because your heart was still growing. Now, I think you're strong enough to carry it. They sat in silence, the city humming below them. The next morning, Zhao Mai returned to the hill. He didn't bring a kite. He just watched. The silver kite was there again, gliding like a ghost. The boy stood alone. Zhao Mai walked up to him. What's your name? The boy hesitated. Samir. I want to build a new kite, Zhao Mai said. Will you help? Samir looked surprised. Then he nodded. Over the next week, the two boys worked together. They gathered materials, shared techniques, argued about tail length and symmetry. For the first time, Samir smiled. Zhao Mai learned that Samir's village had been destroyed in a landslide. He had come to Herat with an uncle and didn't speak much because he missed his parents too. When they finally launched the new kite, a wide-winged falcon made of green and gold, the neighborhood children cheered. It soared higher than any kite that season, untouched by any other string. They named it Yamid, Hope. As it flew, Zhao Mai looked over at Samir. Let's not cut any kites today, he said. Let's just fly. Samir nodded. Let's fly. And so they did. Two boys on a hill, chasing the sky, holding on to strings that tied them not just to their kites, but to each other, and to a country still healing, still dreaming, still full of hope. Even in loss, we can find healing and friendship. Hope can rise again, like a kite, when we choose compassion, understanding, and connection over rivalry or silence. Even in loss, we can find healing and friendship. Hope can rise again, like a kite, when we choose compassion, understanding, and connection over rivalry or silence. Moral of this story: even in loss, we can find healing and friendship. Hope can rise again, like a kite, when we choose compassion, understanding, and connection over rivalry or silence.